What up? Seth Miranda here. This is Adorama Rewind, and what a crazy week it has been. Absolutely bananas. I can't wait to see the comments after this is posted up because I think there's a ton of discussion to have. A lot of social stuff, some tech, but really interesting about Instagram in particular, and some other issues going forward. So this was brought to me by Mark Wallace, and then it was just everywhere when I looked it up. Mark Wallace is our first Avenger here at Adorama. He's like the main host. He was the one who was first on the channel and has long standing, and you guys just saw a top 10 video of his best videos on our channel. But he is an avid motorcyclist, and this influencer, Tiffany Mitchell, boom, posted this. This is Tiffany Mitchell, first of all, where she's just laughing at the sky, which is 90% of her Instagram, is just her laughing at the sky. What a great life. She posted this, a picture of what she's saying is a motorcycle accident. Very perfectly composed, very beautifully shot, hyper drama with logos of brands shown, like the Smart Water just sitting there. And of course, she even shouts out her tattoo artist over here that she might need a touch up on her shoulder. I think that a motorcycle accident would warrant more than just a filthy shoulder. And also, being someone that's heavily tattooed, I can tell you it takes a lot to rip out some pieces of tattoos. Also, being a son of a guy who built Harley choppers my whole life and having 3 dead friends from motorcycle accidents, I had a lot of invested interest in this. And just so you get where I got this from, this is our own Mark Wallace after a 15-mile-per-hour motorcycle accident. So this is only 15 miles per hour, and she would have had to have been basically standing still and just fallen over and gotten filthy to get what she is showing here. But what really happened was she put it up, people didn't believe it, right? But she's writing a caption that's stating that it actually is a motorcycle accident. People went after her, including medical professionals, saying like, none of this adds up, this doesn't look right. And a lot of people were like, oh, condolences, I hope you're okay, blah, blah. And then it was just like, the claws came out and went after her, basically saying, we don't believe this, there's branding in there, it's too beautifully shot, there's just such drama going on there. It was like living a movie, which is what these influencers are selling you anyway. So when you go on these pages, like even if you look at her page, right? So this is her page, 216,000 followers, and everything is the same color tone. It's always golden hours somehow. She's showing you these venues that she's going to. She's always in a beautiful place with beautiful people, laughing at the sky. Look, everything's just so funny. She's showing you the drink with the label perfectly pointed at the lens. So you here, drink this drink, and look, the sky is so funny. And then look to a photo later, the sky is still funny. Oh, you know, and of course she's not laughing at the sky, but you get what I'm saying. It's just very, very highly curated, right? And if you look at the last post she did, it's basically a novel explaining to people why it wasn't fake, and she's trying to defend it. But this post also did not allow for comments. What she's saying is she keeps a very transparent life, that she's been through a lot of things and she's shared them with the people, and including this motorcycle accident, right? If it even happened. I can't confirm or deny it. That's not my place. I can only go by what's out there. I don't have definitive information whether this is real or not, but I can say that she's defending it by saying the motorcycle accident happened, then her friend who was there taking photos the whole day, while she was resting on the side, started taking photos. It wasn't like a photo of the actual accident happening, but it was like the quiet after the storm, I guess. I don't know. Either way, this is crazy, but this is what's happening out there. Instagram went from a platform to share work to sharing a lifestyle that probably doesn't exist, right? These people don't constantly laugh all day long and just have these beautiful lives. In fact, they probably shoot most of their content in like one day of the month and go nuts and then bleed it out all over the place, making you think that they're constantly living like this, but they're probably not. Their job becomes Instagram, right? They're getting sponsorship deals. They're getting free venues to go to a hotel or see a resort. The clothing that they wear, everything, oh, there's the AC, it is summer, sorry. Everything that they're doing is to give people the illusion of a perfect life, and the brands want you to think that what they're putting in those Instagram posts will give you that perfect life. So every now and then, I guess they're gonna throw in some sort of drama because it gets a little stale, right? And like maybe that's what happened here. Maybe something did happen and she exacerbated it. Maybe she just fell on the ground. Maybe the bike got away from her and she was totally fine. Maybe she just got filthy and just tripped and fell to the side. I don't know, but calling it a motorcycle accident is like a red alarm, right? It's like you don't know what level it's at, but when you hear motorcycle accident, you basically think death. I mean, like I said, I lost 3 people to this, so I took this a little bit to heart. Let me know what you think about this down below. And also, can you please tell me what's the point of following people like this? I don't understand. It's like, oh, cool, they have a great life. I'll just daydream about their life. I don't know. I don't get it. But instead, you're just looking at pictures of ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. It's always golden hour. It isn't. It really isn't. Let me know if you follow people like this and why. I'm really wondering about that. So Mark Wallace, that was for you. Thank you so much. And you could Google this and find endless stories. BuzzFeed, Cosmopolitan Hype, everything, it's out there, okay? On the flip side of this was kind of interesting. A YouTuber found a GoPro. So this guy right here unfortunately drowned. And what happened is that a YouTuber, Rich Aloha, was at Foster Falls in Tennessee and found a GoPro buried when he was digging around, and found the last footage of this gentleman right here, Richard Ragland. So apparently he died just days before his 23rd birthday in 2017. His family began searching for answers about his last day and moments, and this YouTuber found this GoPro and found the last bit of media or documentation of this guy's life. It's kind of amazing. It's also very sad, but I hope it kind of gave a little bit of closure to the family. It's like, you know, we're living in an age where we just constantly document ourselves, and we're constantly creating content based on what's going on around us. And this is actually real documentation of someone's life, not a curated post where they're sitting and somehow you captured an intimate moment. No, you didn't have an intimate moment, you set that up. This is as intimate as it gets. He's documenting his time at a place, and then he never came back from there, unfortunately. This reminds me of The Killing. Do you guys ever watch that show? What an amazing show. It's basically about a girl that was murdered, and the mother, there's a scene with the mother who's super depressed, can't get out of bed, and it's days later, and the phone rings. She doesn't pick up the phone, and the answering machine picks it up, and the answering machine's outgoing message is her daughter's voice, which she hasn't heard since the death of her daughter. And she just runs to the answering machine and hugs it and holds it like she's right there in the room with her. And it was super powerful, and it just made me think of that. And this is the kind of stuff that feeds that type of conception when they're creating series, you know. So this is really real drama being documented, in my opinion. I hope the family found some closure, though. Let me know what you think about that. If you found the final footage of someone that's been missing and that was important in your life, a family member perhaps, is it healing, or is it just kind of churns it up again? Let me know. I'm wondering about that. Let's get out of like the super gloom and talk about something that's kind of like ridiculous. So, Best of Weddings award-winning photographer sued by multiple couples. Yeah, so this guy never gave people their photos of their wedding day. He took their money, and he was in a Best of Weddings from The Knot in 2016, 2017, and 2018. And he basically shot these weddings, took the money, never delivered. But somehow he's award-winning. The moral of the story is, stop thinking award-winning means something. Everybody puts that on their Instagram. How many award-winning people are there out there? And what are these awards? And what's the validation or credibility to these awards? A lot of times, especially in the wedding industry, all an award means is that they paid $60 to submit photos to a random pool of people who you don't know what their level of photography is, how much experience they have, or even how many people entered. They could have won best out of 3 people who entered. You don't know. But they won a cheap piece of glass that says best of whatever, and they're award winning. And then they put it on a shelf, and they go like this in front of it, and then you buy into whatever they're selling, like a workshop or some PDF that they're trying to sell, or even hire them as a photographer. And that's a real reason why people go after these awards, is to make it seem like, oh, there's a million wedding photographers, but I am award winning. It's the same thing as on Instagram when everyone says, I'm a published photographer. What does that even mean? A published photographer is a cover of Vogue or the reader's selection in the town newspaper that has a circulation of 500 people. Both are published photographers. Really put grains of salt in what people are putting out there. Vague is never going to help. The Knot people kind of do go after a little bit about, they just like going after them, honestly. I've seen endless articles about people wondering why they won, or when's the last time you saw somebody win an award from a trade show or something, and there not being some kind of like uproar on Facebook about, oh, the image is photoshopped or this or that. Like, what? So just think a little deeper when you're seeing award winning and seeing what those awards are, and then also see who else won that award over the years and what circle it puts them in. Okay, if you're someone that enters those competitions, keep doing it. It's great, but the people that buy into someone because they're award winning that's the people that should have a grain of salt. Oh man, whew. It's already exhausting. I'm not even halfway through this, you believe this? All right, so this is the one that blew up everywhere, not just in the photo industry, but like everywhere. Oregon police photoshopped the suspect to look more like the bank robbers. So this is the picture of the guy that's a mugshot, tattoos all over the face. They photoshopped out the tattoos because they think this is the actual bank robber that was caught on surveillance. And what the cops are saying, so this one off the bat, you're like, oh, these cops are evil. Yeah, it's super shady. I am not defending this, but I think it's important to hear the cops' side of this, right? So they're saying they went to the bank tellers and they said nothing about facial tattoos, but the guy, if they put him, they weren't picking out a suspect from all the photos they were showing them. Then if they took out the tattoos, they recognized him. And what they're saying is what stops this guy from putting on makeup to conceal it, like Dermablend and things like that. I've had to wear Dermablend to hide my tattoos sometimes over my life. I'm not kidding you. Hid my knuckle tattoos a few times in my life. I'm not going to go into that, but it is something that actually happens. So what would stop a guy to be smart and go, I'm going to rob a bank, I'm super recognizable. If I take away the one thing that's super recognizable and go do it, I'd probably get away with it. That being said, it's still super shady for the cops to do this, and this might lead to legislation about what police are able to do to mugshots, and if it's not already there, but judge is going to have to make a call on this, and it's going to probably put more and more updated regulations to handling of mugshots in general. So that's the positive of it, that they probably have some old logistics to how they deal with mugshots. Fingerprints used to be literally ink on a piece of paper and hopefully they could figure it out. Now it's like digitally scanned and like hyper res and all sorts of stuff. So maybe this is a good way to look back at the old technology and revamp how we handle it. Speaking of new technology, Apple is going after Red for a RAW patent. Yeah, so the this one's a little weird. So basically what's going on is Apple came up with ProRes RAW, and they're paying a licensing to Red because they have the patent on the codec that creates lossless compression at 23p. Yeah, it's very open and vague, and what Apple's saying is that they don't properly define what that is, and this is Apple trying to get out of paying Red the fee every time they use something that does lossless compression. Sony tried to go after Red the same way back in like 2013 or 2014. They totally lost this lawsuit, but I think this is Apple going, let's spend a few dollars on some legal and see if we can get out of this in the long run, because ProRes RAW is pretty amazing. We've done demos here with it, with Adamus, and it just looks beautiful. And every time that they put it into play, Red gets a cut of it, so they're just trying to get away from that. If you're interested in that, just hit the link, and all the legal documents are there. You can check that out. Speaking of RAW, Nikon has finally added RAW image transfer to Snapbridge. So Snapbridge is the app on your phone that can get your photos from a Nikon into your phone, but now they're allowing for not only RAW images to be sent over via Wi-Fi, but camera control for mirrorless and some other DSLRs. You can do a lot of things like actually control the aperture, white balance, and other stuff inside the camera. This is version 2.6, so check if you have it. It's definitely pretty awesome to be able to throw RAWs in your phone on the fly if you're out there in the field, and just have a backup in general. And I know we're about to hear everyone say, yeah, one card slot, you need a backup. Well, guess what? Now you got a backup, all right? Shh. Camera just wasn't for you. Shh. Let's talk more about photos in your phone. Google did something pretty cool. Google Photos now lets you search for text in images. Yeah, so I found this on The Verge. Basically, if you take a photo, like if you screenshot something, and it has a sign that says, keep off the grass. If you go into Google Photos, so you click on that lens and you type in grass, it'll find the photo because it has the word grass in it, which is pretty awesome, right? If you're somebody like me that constantly screenshots articles and documents and you can remember something from the title, you just type in that, it'll find that. So this is pretty awesome. They call it OCR, Optical Character Recognition, which is, I think, is amazing technology and definitely useful, because I fill my phone up with endless content and it's so hard for me to find it. Half the time I'm making like folders just to kind of like throw things in just so I can find them later. I favorite things just to remember which ones they are. This is pretty great. It's also pretty cool because you can actually shoot things and put a sign in there, and that way you can kind of organize stuff, right? So if I was doing like a bunch of sets of photos, I can put a sign in there that says like shot at 1/25th of a second, I can just type in 1/25th and it'll find that sign, and it'll find that group of photos that I shot at that setting, which is kind of cool. All sorts of stuff. There's so many applications I can think of for this. Let me know what you would use it for, because I hope that this just becomes standard, and I don't see why it wouldn't, right? Speaking of apps for your phone, let's go into Photoshelter's new FileFlow app. So if you're a Photoshelter user, you basically have your own version of Dropbox. What this does is it gives you albums in your phone to whatever you have on your Photoshelter account, and you can send them to clients, but also send them downsampled JPEGs, so full res or smaller sample JPEGs. If you're if you're a Photoshelter user, this is fantastic. I know you're going to say, like, what about Dropbox and Box? They're great. They work fine, but they're not set up just for photos. This really does let you create albums, and you can actually search per image, because how many times have you looked at a Dropbox on your phone and all you're seeing is like tiny little thumbnails, or just like the titling and just like a picture of like a mountain that's supposed to emulate an image, right? This is pretty great. Photoshelter is huge. A lot of people trust it. David Bergman just did a whole thing on it. If you want to check that out, I think it's on Adorama's Facebook. You can check that out. Let's get into some gear news, because Tamron teases 4 new full-frame lenses for Sony E-mount. There's not much to say here. They released this, which is like a few seconds, and they show their already existing lenses for the E-mount, and then these 4 that are silhouetted out, and you're supposed to be like, oh. So they showed the 17 to 28, as they say here, and the 28 to 75, both 2.8. So if you're a Tamron fan and a Sony user, this is pretty cool for you. No word on anything, no release, no what they are. We'll find out. I'm guaranteed they're probably going to make the announcement at Photo Plus in October, which is great. I'll be there, by the way. If you're going to go to Photo Plus, I will be shooting live at the Westcott booth and some other places probably. So if you're going to New York early, is it early October? I'll figure out the dates. I'm so bad at this, sorry guys. But I will be at Photo Plus, and I'm sure that's where they'll announce a few things like these Tamron lenses. Speaking of lenses, Nikon had that 500mm f5.6 PF lens. Well, guess what? They're only doing 1,000 of them per month, which is why they're so heavily on back order. This lens is nice and compact. It's a gigantic 500mm crushed down to a small light size, and there were a lot of pre-orders, but they didn't anticipate a lot of people going after this lens, and they, like in true Nikon fashion, because they always have issues with making mass production, they just aren't putting it out fast enough. So if you're on the pre-order list, you're going to be waiting quite a while. Don't be so surprised that this is what the deal is. Nikon in general is not this enormous company that people think they are. Sony, Panasonic, Canon, all those companies make lots of electronics. Everything you can think of is under those names. Nikon is truly just cameras and imaging. You'll see their name on like a scanner, but for the most part, it's really just a camera company. And that being said, they don't have a humongous amount of divisions like Panasonic and all these other huge companies. They really do just focus on cameras. So this is no shock. However, this lens seems pretty awesome, and I guess they should have anticipated more of a welcoming response from the welcoming reception from the public, I should say. And in some cool news, there's a guy doing a 30-year time lapse of New York City. There's a million time lapses out there, but this one's pretty cool. Joseph Giovanna has a mounted camera to an apartment complex that's tethered into a MacBook Pro. And what's cool is he's doing it for 30 years, but I want to show you this one. He actually captured things like the blackout that happened here. So seeing some crazy stuff like this happen is just one of the many things that's going to happen over the 30 years that he's been documenting. He's a few years deep into it now, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm a sucker for this type of stuff. 30 years is an enormous time lapse. It's going to take millions and millions of photos for him to get through it. Actually, I think they wrote it right here. Captured already 4 million photos in New York City, and the project will end at 10,958 days, which is 2045. Whew. I hope it all goes well for those 30 years. I'm pretty excited to see what happens, especially with the way they build here in New York. There's an endless amount of cranes that are constantly building and taking down buildings. I wonder if that's going to be prevalent in these time lapses. Of course, seeing the different ships that go through, the airplanes, everything. It's just kind of cool. I'm a New Yorker. I'll always love this kind of stuff. And I just think it's cool when people dedicate themselves to such a high level of commitment of 30-year project. Granted, it's not like he has to go there and shoot every day, but it is pretty cool that that's happening. On the flip side of that, who remembers webcams from the old days of the internet, Internet 1.0? I remember there were like webcams on the beach that would show surfers the surf report. It would take a photo every like 6 or 10 seconds and show you what the water was like. Well, the oldest webcam is now being shut down. 25 years running. This was at the San Francisco State University, just to show you campus life. They called it the Fog Cam, I think. It was activated in 1994, and it's reached the end of its life. They're taking it down. It's definitely an outdated technology. I mean, we're live streaming now in like total 4K if we have to. This took pictures like I think every 20 seconds or something like that. I just love that kind of stuff. I love the old internet because it really wasn't that long ago, and it's amazing how much we've changed and where we've elevated and escalated things to. You know, we used to have just like AOL chat rooms where you didn't know what somebody looked like, and you know, you couldn't have an identity. You could have an identity just online, and now it's really hard to do that, right? Now on the internet, you have a full identity online. Like your picture's out there. You're on a million social platforms. Say exactly who you are, what you're doing, when you're doing it. The days of meeting up with someone and not being sure what they look like are kind of over, right? And you could even double check on people by seeing who they're associated with and checking their social. The stalking is insane. It's a little, think what you want of it, but I just love the old internet, and webcams were definitely part of that culture back then. I remember just seeing old webcams. I was gonna go, wow, that's actually happening. And then I should have been like, click, I'll just go outside and be there. What do you know? Let's go to the Photographer. So he's telling you about the mind-blowing 81 megapixel of the sun. Look at this. This is the actual texture of the sun. This is amazing. 81 megapixels. First of all, it's a photo of the sun. Can we just like not get over this for a second? They basically go into how they shot it. It was, where was it? It was spotted awesome snap on Reddit. So that's where they found it from. And it's shot with a special solar scope, which can actually get you to the actual burning plasma that's happening on the sun to show the textures. I love this stuff. Do yourself a favor, click this link and just look at it, read how much goes into it. It's actually a composite of around 3,000 images put together to get the textures to come out. I guess it's kind of like a form of HDR if you think about it. It's in depth, but check that out. And I just think it's cool that there's the sun that you've had your entire life, and now you're seeing it in a completely different light. Pun? No? Okay, sorry guys, I had to. All right, that's what I'm gonna give you guys for the news, but I wanted to clue you in on Mark Wallace because I just mentioned about that motorcycle accident. He's a baller. He's definitely the guy who paved the way for guys like me to be here for you, so check him out. He just released a video on our channel about power and mounting solutions on the go, which is great if you're a videographer, run and gun type person, or travel around like him and has to film himself. He shows you how to rig up and what to look for in your equipment when you're doing that, why he does certain things, how he likes to do it, and what might work for you, or options that might best suit your needs. So check that video out, and of course check out his entire playlist of exploring photography. It is the original series here on Adorama, so it is years and years and years long. Any topic that you've probably been struggling with, he's probably tackled it already. In fact, the running joke with the other Adorama hosts here is, yeah, Mark probably did a video on that already. Like, you know, so we're all just, we're just all walking the trail he blazed, I guess. How's that, Mark? Is your ego big enough now? Mwah. And I'm just gonna leave you guys out with this. We're still getting to the 3,000 followers on our Twitch channel. So we're at 1,500 followers right now. If you are part of the first 3,000 followers, you can enter to win this GE73 MSI laptop. And we go live every Sunday, 12 to 3, me and Josh. We talk gaming. It's really a hardcore discussion about the philosophy, and it's just a place for gamers to come hang out from 12 to 3 on a Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you are, you're welcome to join. We have a lot of people from the Netherlands jumping on when we go on. A lot of people from all over the world sharing their point of view, their experiences, from the younger gamers that are really excited for what's going on right now, to the older gamers that remember the nostalgia and can apply to what's going on, or things we miss, or things we'd like to see. So, and of course, industry news, right? Like what's coming out, what happened, all sorts of stuff. Join us on Sundays, but do yourself a favor, just go to twitch.tv/AdoramaXP, and all you gotta do is hit the heart at the top, and that's it, you're entered, done. It's free to have an account. If you don't have one already, just make one. If you do have an account and you're not following our Twitch channel, what are you doing? Come hang out with me on a Sunday and let's play some games. All right, I'm gonna leave that there. And I guess the question of the week is going to be pretty simple. I just want to know, where is your line from what you post on Instagram and your actual life. Where do you go, I don't need to share this? Or are you someone that curates your life for Instagram, and how is that benefiting you? Tell me what's going on. Let me know about your Instagram lifestyles. Let me know about your social behavior, and just, we have to talk about this stuff because this is where we're going. We're gonna stage things to create the idea of a life or exacerbate things to make people think that there's more going on in our lives. Why isn't it ever enough to just live a life? Isn't life hard enough, everybody? Like, why isn't that just enough? All right, guys, I'm gonna leave you there. Thank you so much for everything. I can't do the show without you, and we're almost at 1 million subscribers here. So once we get to that, we're gonna do something huge, you know that. So tell your friends to follow this channel, you know. Hit like, hit subscribe, that really helps us out. If you don't know how you can pay us back for any of the information that you're getting from us and you're super excited about it, all you gotta do is hit like on our videos, drop a comment and say something, and sharing around really, really helps. We appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week. Later, peace.